Hello and welcome back to this course of videos on Node.js and Express. Now in the previous video we used the render method from Express, the render method on the response object, which allowed us to pass a JavaScript object containing data to our index.js view, which allowed us to create a dynamic page for the user, a page that was dynamically created with this piece of dynamic data here, which is the username. Now that's all well and good, but we had to hard code our username in here. Now in real life applications you're not going to do that. I mean, a much more preferable way would be to tailor this view based on information that the user provides us. Now there's a few different ways we can get data from the user. We can receive data from the user. Now, we're using GET requests. So really with GET requests don't have a body. They just have a header. So really all we have is the URL string that's passed to us from the user and the request header. When we move on in the future to post requests have a body and they can pass data through in that body. However, with our simple GET requests, we just have the URL and the header. Now, using the URL with Node, you can actually use the URL to pass information quite effectively. And there's two different methods that we can use for for collecting data from the user that is passed in the URL. Now, the first thing is called query parameters. Now, what we're actually going to do is we have our route. Our route here is just the slash route. There's nothing there. This is just this route here. But what if we were going to add? We could add a route here like slash username, for example. And if we did slash username, we could provide back a different view based on what this, and that is called a route parameter. So in order to allow this, what we need to do first is we are going to add an extra parameter, URL parameter in here, and we're going to say again / but add an ID, a colon and ID. Now what this colon ID is representing is anything that we put after this / so anything we write here, ABC, whatever, is being represented by this -ID. Now now we have this, we can actually capture whatever data is passed after this / within our Express callback function here. So what I'll show you here is I'm going to add some code. I'm going to console.log request.params.id. You see this request object again, the parameters property and the ID property. Now ID, this is going to read, this ID here is referencing this ID here. So what we'll see now, this will be passed to us in the console.log. And what you'll see is, I'm just going to save this, it's a second, excuse me. It's going to save this, and I'm going to restart my server here. Now when I am going to do / here ABC. Now this ABC is going to be passed, is going to be captured by this URL parameter here, and then console.logged via this command here. So if we see now, I'm going to run this and we'll go back to our server, and you can see it console.logged ABC. So that's fantastic. Okay, so we want to go back to a situation where a user adds their username as the right parameter, and then a different view is passed back to us. So we're going to populate this username and customize this page for the user based on their profile name that they enter in here. So here I'm passing username of James D. Murphy. I am simply going to replace that with request.parameter.id. So if I save this now, and again I restart my server, and I'm going to go back and I am going to put my username of James1, and you'll see this now, that's actually dynamically changed that page. So you can imagine there could be multiple different usernames that are used as these right parameters, and we wouldn't just need to customize this. We could customize anything about their profile page, and we could customize their profile page based on the information they give us in this root parameter. This is just a small thing we've done here. So that's one way we can pass data or collect data from the user and customize our view based on the information that's passed. Now, a second way is using something called query strings. Now, query strings you might be familiar with. Query strings are anything after the question mark in the URL. So you may have seen when you do Google searches. So I am going to add two query parameters here. I am going to do first name equals Jimmy, and then ampersand, and I'm going to do the second one, and L name equals Murphy. I'm not going to run this yet, but because we need to be able to capture this query string in our code. The way I'm going to do this, and I'm going to console.log it first, instead of request.parameter.id, which we use to collect the root parameter, we are doing request.query. Now, I can't just console.log this because it will spit out an object. I have to run something called json.stringify to capture this data. This simply takes, because this is returning a JavaScript object here. The JavaScript object is this data that we're passing after the question mark, so in the query string. You'll see in a second. So I have to run the json.stringify command to make it actually readable. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back to my server and restart again. And then you'll see now that when we console.log, when we run this and we console.log, you see it passes in. This is the JavaScript object that was captured here, and we stringified it. And you can see it's captured first name, it's given us a JSON object, first name of Jimmy, last name of Murphy. So it's captured that, and we can actually use that now to, again, further customize our view that we're providing back to the user. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, so right now we're passing this JavaScript object to the view. It's got one single key value pair in it. I'm going to add a second key value pair, and the value is going to be this request.query object. Now remember, this object has more than one key value pair within it. So if we actually pass this full name request.query, this parameter is actually an object with two, if you remember back here, the object has two key value pairs in there, and we can use both of them in our view. So if I go to I'm just going to save this, and if I go to my index.ejs, I am going to actually customize the hello, welcome to Bitcoin chat application here. I'm going to customize this based on the query string that is passed in by the user. So, similar to the previous video, we're going to use our open bracket percentage sign and equals, and then for name. However, unlike last time, for name, if you recall, for name is not just a single value, a single variable like it was last time. Request.query is passing us, if you remember, a JavaScript object with two key value pairs. So we actually have to use dot notation to drill down in and get the actual values of these key value pairs that are embedded within this object. So instead of just saying for name, I'm going to use dot notation. So I'm going to say for name dot fname and for name also for name dot lname. Now, so you can see, here's my for name. This is my JavaScript object. I'm using JavaScript dot notation to drill down to the fname and the lname within my full name, my for name object. Here, this is my for name object, and I'm drilling down into fname and lname, the values from these keys here. So I hope that's clear. So I'm going to save this now, and then I am going to again restart my server by doing Control-C and running again, and we'll go back to our application and we are going to run this. So here's my query string. So I'm passing in fname of Jimmy and lname of Murphy, and you'll see it says, hello Jimmy Murphy, welcome to the Bitcoin Chat application. So I hope this gives you a good introduction to using root parameters as well as query strings to pass in information from the user and dynamically modify the view that you're serving back to them. So we've modified the username, which is just up on the top right here, as well as this welcome message based on the information that's been passed in by the user. This would be quite a common technique to use these route parameters and query strings to tailor pages for the user in this way. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.